Hey, David Wygant, today 10 minutes of reality is going to be the reality that you need. It's going to be shaking your money tree. Money tree needs to be shaken because as spring starts, leaves are going to be popping out, their trees are going to be budding. But the question is, how's your bank account looking today? Is your bank account budding? Is it looking good? Is it blooming? Is it going to be a profitable summer? Or are you always going to be shaking the dust between the pillows, trying to get the money to pay the bills? Doesn't have to be that way. The other day, I was kind of cruising the internet, watching a silly video with my kid on YouTube about animals making funny sounds. And there was this commercial that came on with this guy named Jason Bond. And I was thinking, like, the Bond, the last name I like, it's cool. And all of a sudden he's talking about like making money in the market. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I got the market in me. I was born and bred. My grandfather was one of the first stockbrokers. He literally made a fortune. I can understand charts and numbers because it's emotions to me. So I learned a long, long time ago, I forgot the name of the company, and I was just too neurotic at that time in my life. And I lost about 10 grand in the span of 6 months, which my trader friend looked at me and said, why did you quit? He goes, you were there. He goes, you didn't lose that much. He goes, my God, he goes, you spent 6 months learning. And I said, it was just stressing me out. He says, well, you got to stop stressing out. He says, maybe somebody will come up with an easy system you can follow instead of you having to learn it on your own. So henceforward, years and years later, an animal video comes on, and this man named Jason Bond comes on, and he's got this great story about being a school teacher and how that, as we all know, is very rewarding to teach those kids things. About half of them pay attention, the other half don't. And you don't get to really pay the bills, even if you live somewhere really in a small town. It's still tough. So, Jason, we've got this funky screen on that we're going to explain in a minute, but tell people exactly where you started and what this did and how you started this, and, kind of give that little trials and tribulations. And now, I'm looking at your gains for the day, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well, too. But how did this all start?
Sure. Thanks. First of all, thanks for having me here, David. I really appreciate it. Like anyone else, my vision of the American dream was kind of go to college. I was the first in my family to do that. I got my undergrad in education. I got a teaching job right away, elementary physical education. And then I got my master's. And after about 10 years of teaching, my wife at the time was in her 7th year of teaching, also with a master's in literacy, first grade teacher. I did my taxes on TurboTax, punched in the additional CD, which was Quicken. This is when there was CD-ROMs on computers. And so I punch in Quicken, and it spits out negative net worth of $250,000 from, student loans, mortgage, credit cards, all your consumer debts that most people have. And I didn't know what net worth was. I just knew that red was bad, and it kind of had a little pop-up said, definition of net worth. And at that moment, I realized 10 years into my teaching career, I would never be out of debt. And we didn't have much, to be honest, David. So that got the hamster wheel spinning. And once it started, I just did not stop, and I still don't to today.
It's interesting when the hamster wheel starts, because a lot of people's hamster wheel starts spinning, but the problem is they don't know where to go off. They don't know where to get off, and they don't know how to choose something. So they choose these things, that don't necessarily make them money. They go, well, I want to be a coach, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and they've got no experience. But everybody seems to be going to the influencer route. I did a podcast that was actually aired on Wednesday, and it was all about everybody wanting to be an influencer instead of going for what is always tried and true. What has always made people money over the last 150 years has been markets and real estate, right? Yet people want to avoid that because they look at somebody like you, a stock trader, and they go, oh, this is snake oil. Really? Snake oil? Yeah. I mean, you can prove every single thing. It's like snake oil is the guy that's you're going to charge you $10,000 to turn you, a restaurant manager, into the next famous dating coach or, the next famous life coach. That's snake oil, where you're going to brand yourself. This is legitimate stuff. So we're on this screen right now. So tell people exactly what your day was like today, because they're looking at the screen right now and they're seeing, I see the buy in Tesla sitting there on that little spinning top down there, at 316 and change, because I'm looking at it because I was trained in candlesticks and, So what, and I'm definitely going to do a refresher. What is your day like today? And I see today's realized gain, 28,571. That's a hunk of change. I can imagine people really wanting to make that much money in a day. How did this day happen? How did you pick these stocks and why?
Yeah, first of all, I'll be honest, you caught me on a good day. They're not all like this. I'm really thrilled because all the decisions I made yesterday worked out to today. So these gains here, the 28 grand, these were a result of me picking up Facebook calls yesterday. So essentially, and I'll change the chart here, I was betting that Facebook would go up today, and there's the chart today. So I already sold those. I think it was a 60% return. I also bet that Tesla would go up today. I really like Tesla. I want to buy a Tesla. So when I was looking at the daily chart, I'll break it down to 30 days here so it's a little easier to see. It just had really good support right down and through there. So I figured it's probably not going a lot lower. And if it reverses, I could make some quick money. And it did. So I made 10 grand on Facebook, 10 grand on Tesla. Again, I kind of trade things that I like and I want to get a Model X. So that was the reason for that trade. And I just think it's a great story. And then I also picked up calls. So 3 option trades, ironically. I'm a small cap guy, and this is the small cap index. But small caps haven't had a lot of momentum lately. So I started working on a little options trading through my mentor who taught me how to trade. I've been having some luck with it, as you can see today. A really good return on my money. So it was just 3 bets on 3 different stocks that they would go up today, and they did. And one of the things that I'm really good at is I pay myself. Once I'm up on a trade, I don't try and turn it into a home run. I'm really a basic guy. And so when I'm up $5,000 or $10,000, that's a lot of money to me because my starting teaching salary was $33,000. So when I can hit 5 grand in an hour or 2 hours or even in a day, it's meaningful money for my family.
See, I love that you do that because there's a lot of people that will play the crypto. And I remember a friend of mine, when Bitcoin went to 20,000, he's saying it's going to hit 100,000. And I looked at him, I said, you bought it at 2,000. You have made $675,000.
Yeah.
And pay yourself right now. He goes, what do you mean? I said, Jesus, pay yourself. Take the original $2,000 and literally leave that in there. It's like leave the original money in there and pull the rest out. He goes, but there's taxes. And I looked at him, I said, so what? There's also a market that can go down. He goes, but it's going to go up. I said, but it could go down. And I love the fact that you are paying yourself because it's so true. Why would the greedy people constantly roll it and roll it and roll it, want to be Warren Buffett overnight. And the smart people are paying themselves salaries because what's the big deal? So you're paying taxes on it. Even your net after taxes is still a really good day. And you can go play in the snow. You can, walk by the beach. There's a million things you can do the rest of the day. You don't have to sit there and think like, is the market going to do this overnight? Am I going to hit the home run? So your mentor, how long was your process? Because I know you're teaching people right now. How long was your learning curve for?
Yeah, so when I realized I had zero net worth and was actually negative net worth to $250,000, I knew I had to change. I kind of bounced around from having a roofing business. This is in addition to teaching and coaching. So I would teach, I would coach, roofing business, serve tables, was training to be a bartender, anything I could do to just scrape money. And then kind of along the lines of what you said, true wealth seems to come in 2 different areas, the markets and real estate. And I finally realized there's only so many hours in my day. Scraping money together just isn't going to do it. I need to find somebody who can teach me how to trade stocks. I was actually doing my second master's degree at the time. I was going to be a principal. And principals make about $100,000 a year. At the time, I was living in New York State. And I thought, could I make $100,000 a year trading? Could I teach people how to trade too? Could I build a business off of this? I saw other people doing it. I figured, all right, I need to learn this. And then I'll test the waters on training other people. This was back in 2011. So I literally just quit my teaching job. This was after we did Dave Ramsey. I'm not sure if you know who he is.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the debt snowball. We did that, my wife and I. So we paid off all our debt, which meant selling our house and moving into an apartment so we could get to zero. When we got to zero, I quit teaching. She kept teaching, so we had some income. And I took a risk learning how to trade. And then as I got good quickly, my first year, 2013, I think I made about $250,000. Now, this was under the direction of my mentor. So I found a guy, his name's Jeff Bishop. He's now my business partner to teach me how to trade. I had a $5,000 account. He said, if we're going to learn, you need some money so you can trade more often. And he let me use his money. He taught me how to trade. I did very well with it. I made $250, and I was off and running from there. People wanted to know how I could quit teaching in 2011, 2012, and quickly be good at the market. And honestly, it wouldn't have been without his mentoring. And he's a very patient guy. He's a very smart guy, and he had been trading in the markets long before I got started. I think at that time, 13 years. He's been doing it 20 years now. It took me some time. I made a lot of big mistakes. I started having an ego where I couldn't lose, and I let some trades go against me to the tune of $50,000 or $70,000 in losses because I'm Jason Bond and I'm running a newsletter. I can't be wrong, so I'll just buy more, and I would get crushed on some of these small cap stocks. So I had to really refine my strategy. Once I got successful, I still needed to refine it, and even to this day, I'm still refining things. But that was kind of the learning curve those first few years. 2016, 330% with these base hits. That was $330,000. Last year, 284%, $284,000. And around the middle of December, we took out all the profits out of the account, which at the time were $240,000, and donated it all to charity. And that's primarily because my business has gotten so big. I think they say about 95% of people who try and trade stocks lose money. So there's a market for anybody who can be successful at it. And so I kind of have two different income sources now, trading profits and then also teaching people how to trade stocks. And this screen you see right here, my clients are looking at this right now too. So when I win, they see it. When I lose, they see it. There's about 300 people in our chat room right now who have access to this screen. And so it's totally transparent. You can't argue. And again, there's good and bad days. I've lost this much at times.
Are they doing, so a lot of these people, I'm sure, as they're learning, they're probably putting small amounts in, following you as well, which is something that mentorship is really great. If you're gonna learn the stock market, have a mentor. Have somebody who's gonna say, all right, I'm going in here, you go in as well, but I'm gonna go in with this much money, you need to go in with 2 shares. Yeah. It's just, and that's the beauty about the stock market, is that you don't have to buy you don't have to buy that much. Right. It's easy to set up an account. It's easy to do all that stuff. The in and out fees are not overly expensive. So it's good to learn that way, because at least you're in there, because when I learned, they were paper trade. Paper trade doesn't get you in there. And even though I wasn't, and they didn't let you follow them, which was ridiculous. It was just, well, you're teaching me a system, but why can't I follow what you're doing? Because then I've got the support and I've got a chat room that I can go to. So you're offering all this. Literally you are still a teacher, through and through, it's like you haven't really changed who you are, which I think is really a cool thing, because that's what really resonated with me. Because when I built my business over the last 20 years, I love to meet women. I love to teach women what men thought. I love to flirt. And that's how I started my business. So I started my business based on really who I was, who I really truly am. And that's what passion is. So you're now teaching people. So, and there'll be a link that I'll put, under the podcast, and I'll put a link on the YouTube video as well, so you guys can see what Jason's all about. What's it like teaching these people? Do you, in the chat room, are there lots of conversations going on? Are there lots of trading going on? Or, when you tell people to follow, like for instance, like if I kind of saw when you got in that other trade, are you telling people this is the indicator, and so they can actually see it as well, and they're making the choice on their own whether to trade it or not, right? Yeah.
The mentoring really is 3 parts. It starts with video lessons that I started building back in 2012 when I quit teaching. So I'm absolutely still a teacher. A lot of people break my chops. They say, if you're such a good trader, why don't you just trade? Why do you have to teach people to trade too? Now, anybody who's in business knows the answer to that. The more income streams you can have, the better. I'm a very good teacher, and I'm a great trader. The combination, for me, is more wealth than if I could just trade on my own. At some point in time, I think this runs into scalability. For example, one of my clients, he can make about $1 million a year now with these strategies, but hasn't found that having a larger portfolio than $250,000 to make that $1 million a year helps him. So in other words, if he traded with $1 million, it wouldn't help him make more than $1 million. So there gets to be a point where it's scalable. My business is very large, so it's kind of like 2 parts. I've, like I said, 300 people just in that room, but I have thousands and thousands and thousands of clients. And it's built on the day they sign up for one or the other service, you get video lessons that sets the foundation. Then there's a daily watch list, which kind of builds from the video lessons. So a client comes in, I have no idea what I'm doing, Jason. Good, watch the video lessons. Then they should be able to read the daily watch list, and they know what it's saying. And then in real time, I actually make the trades. You can either get text or email alerts, or you can watch the E-Trade Pro streaming live from your phone, tablet, or computer. So I've built this very good curriculum that's 100% transparent. And then again, my returns are pretty good. The markets didn't go up 284% last year. This isn't like all-in money too, I should say. This is kind of like if you have long-term stuff stays in Vanguard, in safer assets or bonds. This is a speculative part of one's portfolio. So I have a dentist, for example, in the service, and he trades with about 10% of his money in the Jason Bond Picks brand. Some people go all in. They'll sign up with a $5,000 account and do it that way. But my experience working with people, to answer your question, is awesome. This is what I'm made for. God's gift to me was to teach, and I love doing it. I have a lot of passion for that. I never would have left teaching in public schools. I mean, I loved working with kids if we weren't buried in debt. I should have known that going into being a teacher. It didn't really bother me in the first couple of years when I was doing my master's, but after 10, I wanted more for my family, and this was kind of my gateway to that.
You know, I love it because it's really what you're telling people, and you know, and I'm hearing you really clearly, is that you can make a living off of this if you choose, and that's something I tell people all the time. But fully committed to something and believing it and having a mentor means that you're actually going to do well at it if you fully commit to it, right?
Right. Which
transparency is you're giving those people that are watching you all day long the opportunity to trade by you and learn as well. Learn when you make a, you know, once again, you're going to get a trade and there's going to be a loss. Learn from that loss as well, because in losses, it's your greatest, you know, you could have a day you lose a couple of $1,000s. I'm just putting it out there as a certain money. It's like, learn from that. It's a temporary thing. It's a temporary situation. You know, if the market went the wrong direction, that's what happens in life, you know? So learn that, learn why it went that way and understand that. And it's great that you're teaching people, because this is something that I think, and a lot of people go, well, this isn't, you know, how can he do this? It's very simple. 10,000 people can enter at the same time you enter, and it's perfectly okay. It's not, wealth is something that is shared in this world. You know, it's something that we need to understand, that as a teacher, when we share our greatest secrets, it doesn't stop us from making money. It actually gets us to make even more money, because that's how the universe rewards us with more wealth at all times. So I love how you're doing this, because I think it's a viable way for people to make a lot more money. And I like your story a lot. I think it's an incredible way for people to have that freedom that they need to have, and the mentorship, because I can hear it, because you do the same thing that I do. It's like you put the videos out there. When I'm coaching somebody, I do the same thing. It's like I have them send me recordings from them on a date, or recordings from them talking, or recordings from a conversation they had, so I can hear what they're doing and literally be there by their side and show them that they're not as far off as they really think they are. So I'm going to put a link on the podcast. I'm going to put a link on the YouTube video where people can contact and find out more about you. You've got a couple of different levels of the mentorship program that I saw, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I have a core service. It's called Jason Bond Picks, and it's really swing and long-term trading. I don't like to do a lot of day trading, and that's the foundation service, and that goes for $399 a quarter. I tell people, give yourself about 3 months to get a good feel for whether or not this is for you or isn't. And then if people have success, I have a mentorship service that I sell for about $10,000 a year. At times around Christmas and stuff, we have sales. And some people are really intimidated by that price, I'll be honest with you. And I have it priced like that for a reason. I am at that point where I could make a lot more money trading if I wasn't teaching. So at this point in time in my career, my time has become valuable. I think I'm total clients over 10,000 paying clients. So it's grown into a fairly large small business beyond my expectations.
Right.
And it all started with really just being passionate about teaching something that works in a hard area, and then being consistent with the daily watch list and the alerts, and again, winning. That's something that I really take seriously. I like to win. I lose at times, but as you noted, and the reason why I have 10,000 plus paying clients right now is because the video lessons on the losses, they're on the website. I don't just skirt the losers underneath the carpet like most of the Wall Street newsletters. I'm very transparent about it because anybody who's going to be in this game for a long period of time, when I get a client, I want them for the rest of their life. I don't want them for just one payment. I want them for the rest of their life because if they're here for the rest of their life, it means I've done my job. They're probably making either supplemental income, which is the majority of my service, people trying to make an extra $5,000 a month, or transition to full-time trading. But I don't want them to lose money. So I try and work really hard to keep them around by teaching them stuff that will make them money. And part of that is explaining exactly what you noted upon earlier. There's going to be losses. Here's what we can learn from them. Here's how we can try and prevent them moving forward. Here's how we can become better people as a result of them. But it's like baseball. I played college baseball, and a good batting percentage was 300, which meant 3 out of 10 times you are successful. The other 7, something goes wrong. And so people can accept that in sports, but somehow or another, when they buy a stock, if it goes against them, all of a sudden they'll just wait until it's profitable. And in many situations, that doesn't happen. They become bag holders. It's discouraging to look at daily. So those losses that I've experienced over the years, the mistakes that I've made, I do video lessons on them, try and fit them into categories. So when somebody signs up, hopefully, as you noted, they can look at the mistakes I made, avoid those, look at the things I'm doing well, try and do those. And that process usually puts people ahead. Let me tell you a quick story. I got a guy, next month I'm giving away a Porsche. I have another client who took a small account and made $1 million with me, fully audited, verified, in 2.5 years. Prior to joining my service, he had lost 3 years in a row. Here's the kicker. He loses, he blows up an account year 1, puts money back in the account. These were like 5 to 7K accounts, puts money back in the account, loses it again, quits for a while, puts money back in the account, loses it all again. This was across 3 years. Joins the service. He doesn't start winning immediately. He just didn't lose money. That was his first experience for about a year. And then it started to click. And with a $37,000 account, he crosses 1 million around December last year. So we're going to be in Atlanta. Terrell Owens, the football player, is going to be there with me. And I'm going to present him the keys to a brand new Porsche 911. And this isn't the goal for every client. 90+% of my clients just want to make incremental income. This guy has 4 kids. He failed at this 3 times. Wife stays at home, and he made it happen. And so he gets a brand new Porsche. His parents are coming. And that's like the ultimate success story, right? I mean, I think it's just as important for that to happen as it is for, Bob or Sally to make an extra $3,000 or $5,000 a month. Because when I was a school teacher at $33,000 a year, an extra $2,000 to $3,000 a month meant I was making an extra teaching salary. I mean, that's huge money for a lot of people. Money. And that is really the story of Jason Bond Picks. It's not, it's flashy and it's fun to give away a car to a guy who made $1 million. And it's really important because it tells the story of a struggle to, okay, now I'm just not losing money, to, okay, now it's clicking and I'm making a lot of money. That's a great story because every part of that, whether you make $1 million or just go from losing to making a few extra thousand, is really the important key. But that's most clients. They want incremental income in addition to their careers. And that's why my service has grown so big. That service there, that core service, is designed for busy professionals, not for full-time traders. I'm not a full-time trader. I'm a full-time businessman. I'm building this business bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. And the way I build it bigger is by being a good trader.
And being a good teacher, which you already are. Yes. And that's the big, that's where the integrity comes in. And that's what I love, because this is all about, to me, I can see, my dreams have always been, if I could follow, I used to buy and sell foreclosed property. I found somebody who knew how to do it, and I followed their lead. I mean, they taught me exactly how to do it, and I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And every business that I've ever had, I've mimicked somebody who knows what they're doing. Why? Because it's the shortcut. It's literally the shortcut you're looking for, because you're still going to make the mistakes, but the mistakes are going to be supported by somebody who will explain to you the mistakes, and you won't make the mistakes 25 times. You'll make the mistake once, because you actually have somebody who's explaining it to you and go, I get it. And that's why people fail, is because they look at the mistakes and they don't learn from them, and they keep having them over and over again. It's no different than anything. I mean, you're not going to be a great quarterback. I always say Belichick and Brady are joined at the hip for more than so many different reasons. Garoppolo was traded to the 49ers. Belichick did not want to let him go because he trained him to be the next great quarterback. Mentorship and coaching is everything. So, Jason, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate everything. I'm going to have links to your service because
awesome.
I believe.
Hey, let me say one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot to mention with regard to the $10K fee. I have it up that high because I believe my time is important. I also have a product that, if it works, clients will get that feedback pretty quickly. But here's the most important thing, and I hear this all the time from people who eventually pay that fee and join me. Because at first there's some intimidation, but once people see, he streams his portfolio, it's impossible to argue at that point in time. But here's the biggest thing I hear from these clients over and over when they provide testimonials. I lost so much money not wanting to pay that fee.
Yes.
And I wish I had just joined this sooner. It's not just me teaching in the Millionaire Roadmap. My clients who have turned small accounts into over $1 million, I have them teaching. My mentor, he streams his portfolio live. The guy who taught me how to trade. In our Roadmap service, you can toggle back and forth from my E-Trade account to his TD Ameritrade account, see what he's doing live. So not only am I teaching people, but the guy who taught me is streaming what he's trading too. So we've built this very transparent model. And I think outwardly people see the marketing, they see the high fee, and they think, scam. I've seen 1,000 trading services, or I've bought a bunch and they failed, or they've been fake, right? There's not even a real trader on the other side of the purchase. So some people are hesitant. Then eventually, for one reason or another, whether it's losses or they just finally make the leap, they do. And they're, I wish I'd have done this sooner. So my retention on this very expensive service is excellent. It's probably industry best. My ability to retain clients at a 10K fee. And the primary reason, if it works, that fee just evaporates. No different than a broker charges you a fee to trade a stock. If you need money, you're happy to pay the broker.
I didn't blink at it because, I have a mentorship program I charge $10K for, and you're getting me on a daily basis. You get to spend a couple of days with me. You get to spend some time with my coach. So I don't blink. Mentorship costs money. You could sit there and get free. And this is what I tell people all the time. You can continue to scrape the internet for free information nonstop. But the fact of the matter is, anybody who's really doing truly well and has a real system and lives that lifestyle, they know they're worth the money. They're not going to put everything out there on YouTube or everything out there on the internet for you to just get for free, because they are giving you their life's work, and they want to see you more successful than they are, because they want you to stop the pits, so stop the falls that come with it. So I will send this out. You will get hopefully lots of new people, and I'll probably start following you too, because I just sold a rental property, and I want to. It's time to make some changes. Multiple streams of income is everything. I'll leave it at that. I've had one stream of income for 18 years, and it's great, but it's time for multiple streams of income, because you can take the laptop and trade anywhere. And when you can follow somebody like yourself who's a teacher, good things are going to happen. Jason, I appreciate the time today. All the rest of you, there is going to be a link underneath the video for YouTube, and then on the podcast page, there's a link as well. You can follow that and find out more about Jason's picks. And we will have you back on the show soon, because you were a great guest.
Awesome. Again, thanks for having me on, David.
My pleasure.
Have a great day.
You too.